No security guarantees work without the US. But what about the ceasefire itself? Who can help make it happen? Europe loves to discuss the future, but avoids taking action today, action that defines what kind of future we will have.
Now, the EU Commission Vice President Kaja Kallas says that Moscow has yet to take any real steps to end the war.
We have seen concessions from Ukrainian side. What we haven't seen is Russia to make any moves or showing any signs of wanting peace. The opposite. They have increased their attacks against the civilian infrastructure in Ukraine. So we really need to put the focus where it should be.
Bloomberg Chief Europe correspondent Oliver Crook joins us now from Brussels. Ollie, it's been a busy 24 hours where you are. It's going to be another busy 24 hours for Ukraine. Just bring us up to speed on what's been happening.
Yeah, Lizzie, after we took a sort of long detour through the scenic route to Greenland, the geopolitical focus is back squarely on Ukraine for the European leaders. Obviously, for Zelensky, it's always been there, and hopefully now for the United States as well, trying to bring together those parties to try to get these sort of what everyone is hoping is the last mile of the war over the line, to have these discussions to try to get a peace agreement. So in the last 24 hours, we have Zelensky who met with Donald Trump in Davos, saying that the conversation went well, that we also have a much clearer idea now that there are these security guarantees from the United States that are sort of there for Ukraine in the event of a peace agreement. The problem now is getting to that ceasefire, getting to that peace agreement, and that is where Jared Kushner and Steve Witkoff come in, who are in Moscow. They've spent the last sort of few hours there. They spent 4 hours with Vladimir Putin last night in those discussions, and we understand that they're going to meet again today. We understand that the main issue here, and we did hear from the Russians on this, is this question of territory, and that this is an issue that is still unresolved. We understand that this is the main issue that is still the main hurdle to getting a peace agreement. What we will get next is hopefully trilateral talks in Abu Dhabi that would begin today, that would go into tomorrow. It is not clear whether it would be just the U.S. delegation meeting with the Russian delegation and then the U.S. meeting with the Ukrainians in parallel, or if they're actually going to manage to all get in the room together, which would be a significant step forward. But that's where we stand. And this is, again, Donald Trump trying to renew that effort to bring Ukraine back into focus, trying to get that sort of peace agreement over the line. We still have that very complicated issue, though, Lizzie, and that's what we heard from Zelensky over the weekend, or over the last couple 24 hours, talking in Davos, talking about Europeans trying to capitalize on the momentum that we got from the sort of crisis in Greenland, that unity within Europe, that the Europeans need to step up. They need to maximize the pressure on Russia in order to get this deal over the line.
OK, Ollie, but look, we've had the split over Greenland, the threat of further tariffs. It seems now, though, that EU leaders are focusing on their trade deal with the US.
Yeah, so I think that the kind of main concrete outcome of the last sort of week that we've seen is going to be that now likely this deal will now be passed. It will go back to European Parliament. You'll remember earlier in the week it was suspended after the tariff threat. But this is the big trade agreement between the EU and the United States that was agreed upon last year that is now supposed to be coming into law. So that is likely back on focus, and that will likely be voted again. But I think, Lizzie, in the sort of week that we've had here, we went sort of a round trip from crisis and back to think about kind of what European leaders who were here in Brussels last night discussing, what is it that they have learned. The first thing that they have learned, and I think that this is the sort of lesson that's been being taught all year, but really was solidified this week, is that the United States is really willing to weaponize anything, and that they're really extremely at risk. And if they want to sort of have any sort of say at the table, the second lesson is you need to be a little bit more assertive, that maybe the Macron route of things is the right way to go. But in order to be assertive, there is the third lesson. It is one about European unity, and we should not sort of undersell the difficulty of the sort of domestic politics within Europe. They are unified at the moment at the leader level. We've even had their far-right parties coming into the center saying, listen, this Greenland thing is too far. How long is that going to last? That is going to be the main issue for European leaders as they reckon with that in the coming sort of years and months to come. We should also say that they're still incredibly dependent on the United States, so we don't expect them to take a very aggressive line. But I think that the damage that's been done to the transatlantic relationship this week is permanent, and this is the sort of moment for the Europeans to establish what is next and how unified they can be going forward.